Welcome back to the Arsenal Insider YouTube channel. I am Alfie Cairns Culshaw, your host, and I'm joined once again by Rosie Tudball. How are you doing, Rosie?
Oh, good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Exhausted after that relentless and unprecedented transfer window. It is closed, finally. Very busy across the league, not just at Arsenal, but we're obviously going to be focusing on Arsenal. We've spent over 250 million in total, I believe. And we're going to be grading every signing made and the whole window as a whole. And we'll be looking at the fallout from the 1-0 Anfield loss, which did cause some discourse in our Slack channel. So there'll be, some interesting discussion on that. But quick overview of the transfer window for Arsenal. Obviously, very busy. We started by adding Kepa to provide David Raya with some cover and competition. I think it was £5 million for Kepa Arrizabalaga from Chelsea. Zubimendi then came in, a deal we've known about for a while, 50-odd million pounds from Real Sociedad. Obviously, we activated his release clause. Christian Norgard then came in from Brentford, very astute little pickup there. Noni Madueke, divisive signing at the time, then arrived from Chelsea, another Chelsea signing, £52 million. We'll probably get to him when we talk about the Liverpool game. Christian Mosquera then came in, kind of the Tomiyasu replacement after we had to part ways with Tomiyasu. £13 million from Valencia. Played a lot for Valencia last season, so a very good pickup for that price. And then probably the marquee addition of the summer, Viktor Gyökeres arrived for £63 million from Sporting after months of negotiations with the Portuguese club. And then Eberechi Eze, the heartwarming addition of the summer, returning to his boyhood club from Crystal Palace, £67.5 million. And then finally on deadline day, we saw Piero Hincapié arrive from Bayer Leverkusen on an initial loan deal with an option to buy, which is basically an obligation around, I think it's £45 million. So, 8 summer editions, £250 million spent. It's something we've basically never seen as Arsenal fans. I don't think I ever thought I'd see a window like this, but Andrea Berta did deliver. Rosie, give me your overall grade for the entire window.
Oh, it's difficult. As you said, we're not used to this, so I'm like a bit in dreamland. I wouldn't go as far as to give us an A star. I still think we needed a top quality left winger, to be honest. I think that was the only thing missing. So for that, I'd give us an A. I think the star is just missing from that, top quality, like mirror Saka's ability. Madueke is a great depth option, but is he a real upgrade on Martinelli? We'll obviously find out as the season goes on. Eze obviously came in and he can do that job, but he's a number 10 at the end of the day. That is his best position. They would have an out winger have been better, in my opinion, yeah. But I'm not going to complain about the Eze deal. Like, that's an A-star signing, in my opinion. He's top quality. But yeah, the depth we've pretty much got covering every position now. Top quality cover as well. As you've seen from our Champions League squad that's been named. So yeah, really happy. An A, in my opinion. How about yourself?
I think I have to give it an A as well. I don't think I've ever witnessed a window where it would literally address every need. I know you said the left wing thing there. And I think the obvious move would have been to go for like Rodrigo, like an out and out left winger who's spent the majority of his career in the left wing. I think Eze can thrive there. I think like Trossard isn't really a touchline winger. He's not going to take people on the outside, but he's been successful in that left. Maybe not last season, but in previous seasons he's been successful for us in the left wing. So I think Eze can kind of mirror what Trossard's brought us, but to a higher level, better dribbler as well. So I'm confident Eze can work on the left. Maybe it's not the natural signing for that side, but I think every other position, the main issue for us last season was injuries and a lack of depth, and we completely addressed that by sort of strengthening across the board in every position in terms of depth. And, Gyökeres, Zubimendi look promising. They've got to prove themselves still. There's always the sort of opportunity cost, what we could have done instead. And this is one I want to actually ask you. Do you think there's a case to be made that we could have sacrificed a couple of these depth signings, or maybe got one of Eze and Madueke, and then swapped Gyökeres and got Isak instead? Do you think that's a reasonable argument to make?
Yes and no. Difficult because we had no clue that Isak was going to be available. I mean, he started pre-season with Newcastle, didn't he? And we knew he was sort of going to be around, the 150 million mark. Um, I I just could never have seen us going for that. I mean, given what we've spent now, and hindsight's a great thing, we've seen Liverpool snatch him, so fair play to them. What can we say? But yes, in hindsight, I think that would have been, music to everyone's ears. I think he would have fit seamlessly into our system, whereas Gyökeres, he's going to take a bit of time, no fault of his own, but the team just aren't used to playing with a number line presence like him. So yeah, Isak could have been better in terms of instant success, I think. I think, no questions asked, but 100, what was it, 30 million that Liverpool paid for him? It's a lot of money. His actions weren't great over the summer, but you could say the same about Gyökeres. I'm not sure what Arteta would have thought of how he acted with Newcastle. And I think the feeling that we got from seeing Berta operate was that he wasn't going to leave like a marquee signing until deadline day, like really late. So yeah, we got Gyökeres in. He's had a bit of pre-season with us. We're still getting used to it, but 2 goals in 3 Premier League games can't really knock the signing. And I do think it was a bit of a bargain, to be honest, given what he's been doing. But Isak, I just don't want him to feel like the one that got away. But he probably will be.
Yeah, I think obviously if you'd said you can swap Madueke and Gyökeres for Isak, I'd say yes. But I think the way the window panned out, that wasn't necessarily feasible. As you said there, like, can you imagine we'd started the season without a striker, and then Havertz got injured and we'd gone to Anfield with Marino or Trossard up front? Can you imagine the head loss? Like, even if we did end up getting Isak, it would be a questionable move anyway. To sort of, and yeah, there would have been absolute head loss throughout the entire summer if we'd just not signed a striker. Yeah, do you think, in terms of sort of value, do you think we got good value for our players this summer? Some of the incomings, because I think that's one thing that Berta did pretty well in terms of implementing price discipline. We've seen that he wanted to only spend 50 on Eze, and I do think the Eze one, as much as I love him as a player, is a little bit of an overpay. But if we win a title with him, then it'll be justified. But yeah, in terms of sort of value for money, do you think we did well in that aspect?
I think it kind of balances out as a collective. I think if you took, say, the Mosquera deal was brilliant. That was, Berta really played a role in getting Valencia to let him go. I'd say that the Kappa deal was so good, 5 million, wasn't it? And he really will bring competition to Raya. And he's a top quality goalkeeper for us to have in cup competitions. So that was a great deal. Gyökeres, again, I thought that was a bit of a bargain. I agree with you on Eze. I think you've overpaid a little bit there, but I think it was a desperate situation, and I think fans taking him off Spurs the way we did will really appreciate it, and probably would have paid double just to have that dopamine hit again. So that's quite funny. I think Madueke might have been a bit of an overspend, but when you look at it, I think if he wasn't a Chelsea player, we wouldn't be saying that. I think he's a 23-year-old England international who he is Premier League proven. He might only be really early days into his Premier League career, but I think he will come good for us, and that's just the going rate, isn't it, for Premier League players? I mean, I think Omari Hutchinson went for 37.5 mil, and when you look at deals like that, I don't think we can complain about Madueke too much. So yeah, I'd say all pretty good. I think Zubimendi, a player of his caliber, and to get him away from Sociedad was always going to be a bit of a big spend. So I'm pretty impressed compared sort of to last summer with that we overpaid for Calafiori and stuff. So I think it's all ironed out. I think when we look back at we got 8 really quality players for that price. Can't really complain.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the individuals you could say are overpays, but when you say you get these 8 players for 250 million, you definitely take that in totality. Obviously, before deadline day, we had our huge early season title showdown at Anfield against Liverpool. 1-0 defeat. was heading towards the most inevitable 0-0 I've ever seen. And Dominic Szoboszlai decides to change that with a spectacular free kick in the 83rd minute. A lot of talking points from this game. Sky have implemented their own narratives already. Gary Neville was very vocal towards the end of that game on the broadcast. A lot of talk about whether we were too pragmatic. And I think it stems from the lineup because we started Mikel Merino midfield. We started Martinelli over Eze just for the defensive output that Martinelli brings. But what do you make of all that talk? Do you read into it, or do you think some of it's been overplayed a little bit?
A bit of both. I know that we didn't agree about the Merino call because we were talking during the game, and I said, "Why hasn't he gone more attacking?" We go to Anfield and we go to Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, all these grounds over the years, and we just go there and not sit back, but we almost look like, oh God, are we good enough to push them and try and score a goal? And it's like, let's just erase this whole narrative. And Arteta had the chance to do that, I think, by starting Eze in the number 10 role. I think the Martinelli decision was the right one, to be honest. He wasn't good, but he could have been. And I think that's, you can't predict how a player's going to play on a day like that. I think the pundits are loving just having a reason to have a go at Arteta. I think it was the biggest, as you said, it was the most predictable 0-0 ever. We lost to a freak goal. Arne Slot's come out and said that if the teams had played multiple times, it would have been 1 win each and then draws. Jamie Carragher's just loving it, ripping into Arteta. And, part of me is like, yes, we could have gone more attacking perhaps. In hindsight, I'm like, if we'd got a draw at Anfield, fair enough. Would we have complained? It was a defeat though, and we didn't create enough. But we created more than them. So it's sort of like an everlasting conversation. We could talk about it, for ages, and the pundits will always talk. Arteta won't really care. We know that. But going forward, I would have liked to see a bit more ambition. I don't think Merino, that holding midfield was. We saw it at Newcastle, like Liverpool were there to be taken in the midfield. And we didn't do that. And then Martinelli not testing Szoboszlai, midfielder at right back, was just, I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, I'm not a professional footballer, but, give him a bit more of a tough game. So that's what I say about it. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, that Martinelli thing in particular I was frustrated by. But, yeah, I think I'm just scarred from late Wenger era when we used to turn up to these grounds and just concede 5 and 6. I think it was 6-3 at City, 5-1 at Anfield a couple of times, 8-2 at United. So I'm just kind of fine seeing us be a bit pragmatic and conservative away at these grounds, even if it, results in a really boring game. I'm kind of fine with it. I don't care about entertaining the neutrals that much. I just want a point. I'll take a point at Anfield, literally our hardest game of the season. If Arteta goes there and plays the most dull team possible, I honestly don't care. I'll take it. But you do set yourself up for criticism if someone just scores a screamer like Szoboszlai does and then you lose, you're in a position where you are going to be criticised for your approach, because that can just happen. Even if you're, really solid, someone could just score a screamer like Szoboszlai did. So, yeah, interesting game. So, sort of summarising the transfer window, what is your sort of overall feeling about the depth we now have and the squad that we now have to sort of attack the rest of the season?
I'm optimistic about the season. It's just a bit of a blow looking at what other clubs have done. It doesn't mean to say that we could have done better, but I think when it comes to, going player for player, looking through other squads' depth, I think that maybe other title contenders have better quality than us. Whether our team can gel better, which obviously worked last season, we were, ahead of Man City, who arguably do have a better player for player squad than us. But it's really difficult. I think in every position, to have strengthened every position was unlike anything we've ever seen. And we want to challenge for the Champions League. We want to challenge in the cups. We've got to win something this season. I think that's got to happen. And bolstering the squad in the way that we did will help that. There's no doubt. I just think maybe a couple more quality signings would have had people a little bit more excited. I'm a bit worried that it's just Rice and Zubimendi who are the best central midfielders. We haven't really got like a third. Maybe Lewis Skelly could come in, but Could that have been addressed as well? I don't know, but it's easy to give the opinion, and then we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. So I'm being picky because, lifelong Arsenal fan watching us spend 250 million, and I'm here thinking, oh, we could have done this though. It's not a game of FIFA. We're doing pretty well, and yeah, I'm satisfied. I think Berta's done a brilliant job.
Agreed, 100%, and that's why we've both given the transfer window an A. I think that's pretty fair. Maybe not quite the A star, but yeah, definitely a solid A. Yeah, great debate. We'll check in mid-season to see who smashed it and who's flopped. Drop your grades in the comments. Tell us what you think about the window. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, you'll catch more analysis after the next fixture, which is Nottingham Forest, after the international break. And yeah, come on, you Gunners.